Fabulous. All my different settings are now in place. Hopefully my audio is good today and I'm not out of sync as has happened previously, but you never know what's going to happen on a Monday morning. So happy Monday. I hope everybody had a really great weekend and had a nice break from the usual, grind of Monday to Friday. I did post a video on Facebook, a little bit of an easy meditation practice that you can do outside in this beautiful weather, or as Anne has said this morning, you can do the practice anywhere. So that's on the Barb Shaw Yoga Facebook page, and I'll try and throw it onto my page as well if I remember a little bit later. Reminder that the gathering is happening on Thursday evening. There is a creative writing assignment if you choose to do it, or a creative assignment. You don't have to write, you could do whatever you want. So that's been emailed out to folks. And yeah, so this morning we're going to be doing some standing postures, and we're going to be focusing on not just Warrior 1 and Warrior 2, but we're also going to focus a little bit on the Archer, which is such a strong, solid pose. And the takeaway from today's class, especially through the standing postures, is that this is really tough and it's hard. And standing still is one of the most physically challenging things that you can actually do. Case in point, when you're going through construction zones and you see the flaggers, and I don't know if anybody's ever had the pleasure of doing that job, but those folks by the end of the day are exhausted because they're just standing still. So that's why people always think the physical postures of yoga are easy, but when we're not in a flow, it's really physically challenging. So we're going to offset that challenge with using good breath work and engaging the right muscles. And hopefully that will inspire you to approach the whole week with that mindset. That's the plan anyway. So let's start this morning on our backs. Yay! And you're just going to be bringing the knees up. I'm going to move my bolster out of the way. And just come down to a nice, comfortable position. We're going to have our knees up and bring your feet out a little bit further apart. Let the knees rest against each other. Do a little bit of a back scratch, hip check, whatever you want to call it. And then just relax your arms out to the sides. Palms facing up, relax the fingers, relax the hands, close your eyes. And as you're lying here, breathing deeply, let the face soften, let the tummy be soft, let your feet relax. And practice embracing the Monday. Instead of being in that mindset of, oh my God, it's Monday, be in the mindset of, thank goodness, another beautiful day ahead of me, a beautiful week stretches ready for me to turn it into whatever I need, whatever I want, whatever I can imagine and vision. So let's take some deep, strong breaths in through the nose. And as you exhale, start kind of exhaling through the mouth. And last week we were working on ocean breath, which is a little bit of a as you exhale. So just make some noise. So as the breath is nice and deep, you can start to sweep the arms down to rest on either side of the hips and just bring those shoulders back again. We're going to reposition the legs here, bringing the feet to hip width apart, knees are hip width apart. And let the legs be heavy and anchored, nicely grounded. So let's pivot, because a lot of what we're going to do today is a little bit on the esoteric side, a little bit along the lines of imagery and interpretation of form, so to speak. So as you're lying here, think about that yogic sense that the earth is always giving off energy, and the universe around us is always giving off energy. So our job is to upload that energy, download that energy, get it to kind of flow through us. We capture what we need, and then we release either what we have in abundance or maybe what we no longer want. So as you're resting here, imagine energy starting to flow up through your feet. And maybe think of it swirling around your legs, up to the knees and then up along the thighs, along the midline of the body, shoulders. I guess we'll keep the arms at either side of the hips. So that energy flowing, and then we would imagine that the energy is kind of released through the crown. So that's our energy path, up and down and up, and then exploding through your head. Well, it doesn't have to explode, but releasing. So just breathe and understand that you're just really this conduit for energy. And think about what you need today, what it is that's going to be the perfect fuel for whatever it is that you have to face, the known and the unknown. Good. And then let's take a deep breath in, start to sweep the arms up and over top of the head. And just notice what you're feeling as you do this. Is there tightness? Is there stiffness? And then holding here for a couple of breaths, start to engage the core a little bit and then just soften through those arms. Again, this sense of adapting into our surroundings, not staying rigid, but working to find harmony. And still with the deep breath, still with the energy flowing through us, and then sweep the arms up, over, and down. So let's do this on a breath. So inhale, sweeping up. And as I do this, I'm going to arch my low back. And exhale, pushing down. Inhale, up and back. And exhale, down. Inhale. And exhale. And then just roll your shoulders back and relax. So I think about this, talking about the energy flowing in through our feet, up through our bodies, and then we're doing this pumping motion with the arms. I almost feel like one of those hand pumps, right? So think about it. Through that action, through our breath, we're pulling more energy in and just getting everything to circulate. It's like when you wake up in those mornings and you haven't slept well and you haven't grabbed a coffee yet because you don't have room service in your house and you just feel logy. This is how we get that energy flowing, and even without food or hydration or anything, we can start to feel like $1,000,000, or at least $19.95. Let's do that again. Really keep that imagery in your mind that you're pumping and pushing the energy through your body. Inhale, sweeping up, back, and over. Exhale, down. Inhale, up. Exhale. Couple more. Inhale. And exhale. And once more. And down. Good. Roll your shoulders back. So we're gonna add a little bit more to this, maybe slide the feet a tiny bit further towards the bum. This time we're gonna do a hip lift. So remember all the work we've done over the past few weeks. When we lift up, when we get our booty off the floor, you're pinching those bum cheeks together and engaging through the core. So it's not really the quads that are lifting you, it's the glutes and the transverse abdominis. So we'll do it with the arms to keep that action going. So inhale, pinch and lift. And then you can kind of push it a little bit higher up through the hips. Feel the stretch through the quads. And exhale down. Lots of control. When you get back down, release your butt. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. Exhale down. We're going to do this once more, please. Inhale up and back. Soften your arms a little bit here, pushing up higher through the hips. Your chin's going to settle into your chest. Hold and breathe. Make sure you're pinching those bum cheeks together. Tight through the core. Lots of breathing. Again, strength and stamina required to be still. Take a deep breath in and slowly sink your hips down to the mat. Knees lift into the tummy. Give yourself a hug, pulling back. Maybe a little bit of a twist here, one of those nice little mermaid twists. And then push your toe knuckles together, please. We're going to extend the legs up into the air. Stretch out those hamstrings. And think about how this feels, right? Your hamstrings are telling you the story of what happened over the past couple of days. Your muscle groups are really good for gossip, fact, and fiction. They can tell you exactly what happened based on how you feel, 24 to 48 hours later. Let's point the toes. And then I want you to do little circles with the ankles, kind of going like this, same direction. So your feet are connected and moving together. Keep the core tight. Deep breaths. Switch directions. This is warming up our ankles, which are going to need to support our bodies soon. Move your feet apart. Heels are connected, toes come apart. Back together. Opening. Closing. Opening. And then keeping your heels together, start to bring the knees apart and dropping down. Then you move the soles of the feet together and ta-da, butterfly pose. Hold on to the ankles, roll the shoulders back. And just a gentle hip opener. So a lot of these postures that we're doing on our backs, they are inversions, and they're just sometimes easier ways to kind of get the body ready for standing postures. Peaceful and restful, stacking our challenges appropriately. And I like to rock back and forth in the butterfly, but you don't have to. All right, let's release, hands to the outer edges of the knees, push those knees together. You can either roll to the side and push up, or I like to roll forward. And then I'm gonna grab some water, because it is really, we're now catching up. We're getting your warm temperatures here now. Thank you for that. Beautiful. Okay. So we're going to transition into a standing posture by first coming into a pose that you may or may not love. And basically, it's a prayer pose, which is a precursor to something called the garland, which we may or may not ever do. So what we want to do, and if you have your towel or a blanket handy, you can roll it up and kind of have it ready to throw under your heels. But what we're going to do is bring the knees together and give yourself a little bit of a hug. Arch the back. Good. And then I'm going to pull my heels back as close as I can. This is a bit of a fun, balancy little trick. You can either push forward and start to lift up, or you can use a little bit of support from your hands or your arms. So we're coming up into a posture. I'm on a flat foot right now. That might not be fun for you. So if that's the case, you would roll up your towel or your mat or your blanket and just tuck it under your heels and then just sink down on that. You could just balance on your toes if that's fun. My ankles just cracked. That was also fun. And then what we want to do, very similar kind of to what we were doing in the butterfly pose, the elbows come into the inside of the knees. We create a mudra, which is the prayer hands, shoulders are back. And we start to breathe. So make sure your shoulders are soft. Now the other way you can do this, if you don't want the feet completely side by each, you can turn this into a frog pose. And in that case, you would bring the feet further apart. Pro tip, this is how I garden. So we're going to hold this for a few moments. If you need to drop your bum down or take a break, you can. Let's do 2 more deep breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Good. And then the super fun recovery from this, we're going to move to a standing posture. You can do it by bringing your hands to the floor and pushing the bum up into the air, or you can just ground into your feet, tight core, and pushing up to standing. And then I'm going to move back a tiny bit so you can still see me. Good work. Beautiful. So now that we are standing, let's take a moment and just do a little bit more work to get everything warmed up. So we're going to bring our feet further apart. And toes are out. We were doing a little bit of this last week, and I really enjoyed it. So I've been doing it a lot of mornings over the past week. And with our core nice and tight, hips tucked under, I want you to start to lean into one knee. And keep the core fairly straight, almost like you've got this beautiful balance happening here. And very slowly make your way to the other side. Please really feel that connection with your feet. And then we're just gently moving side to side to side. So let's think about the muscle groups to support this range of motion. Core is engaged. Activate the glutes. And you might have to do what I do, which is sometimes I have to hold my butt to feel that it's activating. Enjoy. That's the benefit of an online class. And now I'm going to make sure that I'm lifting up higher and then sinking down. Now you want to make sure your knee is going in the same direction as your toes, not flopping in. Up and down. Up and down. Maybe extend the arms out. And just a few more of these. Good. Let's bring the arms down. With our feet still positioned like this, let's start to set our balance. We're going to slowly lift up onto the toe base, so just rising up. Again, keep the hips tucked under. Bum is active. It's an active bum Monday. And sinking down. Let's bend the knees a little bit. Little gentle kind of introduction to a plie. Floating up. Toes. Drop to your heels. Bend the knees. Let's do that again. Lifting all the way up to the toes. This time, pushing those knees out while staying on the toes. Up we come. Drop your heels down. Good. Bring the feet a little bit closer together. So we're doing all these pieces to kind of warm up our feet because our feet have to be super active in standing postures. It's about standing, and our feet are part of that equation. So I invite you to stretch out the feet a little bit before we go any further. And one of the ways I like to do that is to actually press onto the top of the foot. Lots of control from the midsection of the body as we kind of just move up and down. Make sure your shoulders aren't stuck in your ears. And releasing. Let's move to the other side. And just gently pushing down. You can kind of determine how much pressure you're comfortable with just by playing around with this. And bring those feet apart. Good. Feet are going to be forward. Wiggle your toes. And then imagine you're on a sandy beach and dig in the sand with your toes. Look down at your toes. Spread them as far apart as you can. And then can you get your toes to, I think you call it like drumming, get them to move independently while we keep breathing deeply. Switch directions. Good. And rolling up. So one more little range of motion, then we're going to forward fold to stretch out the hamstrings and then right into our standing postures. Tight lifted, bring the leg up, and just that little shake back and forth. If you need to hold on to something, that's cool. Try and keep the toe pointed. And deep breaths. And stop shaking the leg to get it back down. Let's move to the other side, lifting up, and that beautiful range of motion, please. And releasing. Nice, good. So for our forward folds, let's do just a little bit of a gentle vinyasa, coming up and down and up and down, and remembering that we're attracting and pulling the energy up along the midline, kind of expressing it out. And then when we do our root to rise, imagine that you're grabbing a ball of energy that you're going to throw up over your head. So all of this beautiful confetti of love and power is going to kind of melt over you and wash over you. So feet are going to be about hip width apart. And let's just start moving the energy here. Inhale, sweeping up, big jazz hands, looking up and stretching. And then exhale, just push back down. Inhale. And exhale, lots of force pushing down. Inhale. Exhale. Once more, inhale up. Bring the palms together. We're going to slice down the midline of the body, slowly coming down. Let those legs experience a little bit of a stretch. Maybe fingertips to the floor. Drop your head. If you need to bend your knees a little bit, that's okay. We're going to hang out here for a few breaths. Slowly lift up to kind of around the knees, maybe a little bit below. And this is where we really want to stretch up those legs. And then fold forward, drop the head. Root to rise here. Grab the energy, throw it up. Throw yourself a potty. Hands to the heart. We go again. Inhale. Exhale, slice down. Touch the ground. Up to your knees, nice tight core. And then touch the floor, drop your head. Root to rise, throw it up. Hands to the heart. We'll do that again a couple of times. Inhale up. Slicing down. Touch the floor, lifting to the knees. Fingertips drop, head drops. Root to rise. And hands to the heart. Once more, please inhale up. Slicing down. Fingertip touch up to the knees. Dropping back down. Root to rise last time. Throw it into the air. Hands to the heart. Good. So after a little bit of that up-down motion, not only are we shifting the energy around in the body, but we're starting to activate the lymphatic system, which is actually really great to get stuff filtering out of our system. In case you put anything in your body the past couple of days that doesn't really belong there, says the gal who ate and drank her way through a big portion of Nova Scotia over the weekend. But I figure I earned it. Okay, let's get the hips going a little bit more here. And by that, I'm going to invite you to bring your left foot out on an angle and step forward with the right foot. Or you can just mirror me and not listen to the verbal cues. So last week, we did a little bit of an exercise that I want to go back to, and it just gets your hips working and allows you to get more comfortably into a lunge. So what we're going to do is we're pressing into that back leg. Start to bend your front knee just a tiny bit. I want you to bring the back hip forward, so you're just going to start to twist and then come back, bend a little bit deeper. Twist, back, deeper. Twist, back, deeper. Pull all the way up. I want to do that again on the same side. This time I'm going to bring my foot out a little bit further because I'm comfortably going a little bit deeper. So if you found that your knee was going way past your toes on that last kind of downward push, bring the front foot forward. Thank you. Lots of F's there. Okay, hands back to the hips, pushing into that back leg. Both legs are now straight. Bend your front knee just a titch. Bring that back hip forward. So twist, keeping the core tight, back, bend. Twist, back, and bend once more. Twist, back, bend. This is setting you up for a beautiful warrior one posture. Keep the core tight, tuck the hips under slightly. Let's sweep the arms up, roll your shoulders in, and then relax them down. And we're going to breathe and hold. It doesn't take long for the muscles to start screaming back at you. This is a challenging posture. Let's do 2 more deep breaths, please. Good. Let's bring the hands to the heart. Bring the back foot forward. I've lost my head. I'm still here, I promise. Sweeping up. Swan dive, forward and down. Touching the fingers to the floor. Drop your head. So the other version of this that you can do is to just hold on to your elbows for a couple of breaths. And then slowly rolling all the way up. And I'm going to step back so you can see me. Good, excellent. So you should feel, so this was my back leg. So depending on what's going on in your world, you're probably feeling like the glutes have worked. You might be feeling that the quads have worked. I feel like my calves have worked. And I've got sensation in my feet and maybe up the back of the foot a little bit, which is the Achilles tendon. So just be mindful of that. Let's move to the other side. This time, my right foot's going to be out on the ankle, left foot's going to step forward. I'm going to come a little bit further this time. Good. Both legs are starting nice and straight, gripping with your feet. A little bit of a bend in that front knee. Core is tight. So let's twist that hip in. Come back. Sink. Twist. Back and sink. Keep the core tight. Twist. Back and sink. Good. Straightening back up. If you need to bring that foot forward, I think I am going to bring mine forward a little bit more. Legs are straight, shoulders down. We'll do this again, culminating in a warrior one. A little bit of a bend to begin. Twist. So the back hip is moving forward. Back and bend. Twist. Back and bend. Once more. Twist. Back and bend. Good. Make sure that back foot has a lot of energy going to it. This leg is solid and strong. This leg is not leaning across the midline. Sweep the arms up, roll your shoulders in, warrior one, ta-da. Big breaths. Good, let's sweep the hands to the heart. Stepping the back foot up, big sweep, grab the energy, swan dive, forward fold, and definitely this time hold the elbows, drop the head. Release your hands down, bend the knees a little bit, and then slowly rolling all the way up. Bring your shoulders back. And a little bit of a nice release there. Good. Let's grab some more water, please. I'm saying please. I'm going to grab water. You can join me too. So the reason why it's nice to grab that water, hydration, of course, is important. But you should feel that your heart rate is starting to go up a little bit. You should feel that those big muscle groups are working nicely. So let's turn this warrior one into a warrior two. And I'm kind of not working so much with my mat today. And part of that is kind of my preference. I talk about this sometimes in my live classes, like in-person classes, when I make folks step off of their mats. And especially if you're getting outside to try practice or just even in your own home, sometimes it's cool to understand you don't need to be on a sticky mat. And when I'm doing a lot of work that really requires my feet to hang on, sometimes it is nice to just step off that stickiness. And even though your feet might be sweaty and feel like sliding, you have that ability to kind of remember how to anchor in. Again, lots of strength from the ankles and the feet is required. Let's go warrior one to warrior two. I'm going to start again with my left foot back on an angle, and I'm going to step my right foot way forward. And in this case, I've actually stepped over the mat, which is good. And I want to start by bringing that back hip forward as much as possible, straightening the leg, tight through the core, bending the knee, relaxing your shoulders, almost like weights are hanging from your arms. One more adjustment here that I want you to make. Imagine there is a weight hanging from your tailbone, kind of pulling that down. Sometimes that helps with positioning. Let's sweep the arms up. Coming into a beautiful warrior one. Good, and we're just going to hold for a couple of breaths. Maybe sinking a little further down, and then ease up through that front leg. Bring your arms out to the sides and down. Transitioning very intentionally to Warrior Two now, your back foot needs to open even further. So I'm going to move mine all the way out. Otherwise, my feet are now fine. I'm going to move back into my lunge. It's a different alignment. Instead of coming straight forward, I'm actually externally rotating that thigh a little bit more. And you're going to feel like there's more expansion through the front of the pelvis. Play around with your shoulders. Really get them to drop down. And again, you want to feel like your tailbone is being pulled towards the ground. And you can keep futzing with your feet, just like I do. Deepen your breath, because all of these big muscles are pumping away here, keeping you still and solid. And now we extend the arms, and the arms this time come out from the heart as opposed to the shoulders. Stretch between those two finger points and gazing over the middle finger. And if you don't feel the need to take a deeper breath right now, I'm going to say work harder, because this is a tough posture. 2 more breaths. Good. To release, let's straighten the leg, bring the arms down, straighten that front foot. We've got this really nice wide stance now. Sweep the arms up into the air. Swan dive, forward fold, fingertips come down. If you have a chair handy, and I'm going to actually stay forward. My hands are going to be under, or fingertips are going to be underneath the shoulders. Just gently dropping the head, softening the elbows. Let's roll all the way up. And then we'll switch to the other side. Bring your feet together. Good, 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 good. Again, going back to what I was saying first thing this morning when we started, those postures where you're in a pose that looks so beautiful and so seamless and so effortless is really incredibly hard. Total sidebar distraction. I was listening to a great interview on CBC Radio last week about a woman who's a professional dancer, and she was working on this new dance program, and she was showing how intentionally hard it was to dance, which is the opposite of ballet, which you work so hard to make it seem effortless. And she was saying it was such a different way to work. And yoga is the same. People think it's effortless because when we're in these postures, we kind of grind our teeth and breathe through it. Don't be afraid to express how hard it is. Deepen the breath. You know, make a fist or make really big jazz hands. Make it powerful. This is taking a lot of physical and emotional strength to hold these postures. Now I'm back on track. Okay, so let's do the other side here. My back foot's going to be out on an angle, so this one's my right. It doesn't matter. You can do whichever one you didn't do last time. And a nice step forward. Both legs are straight at this point, and I'm going to move that back hip up. I'm twisting here because I'm feeling like there's less range of motion through my upper back. And because of the twist required, I'm seeing if I can get that out a little bit better. All right, I'm going to start to bend into that front knee. Lifting up through the core, dropping down through the tail. Nice and proud. Good. Let's sweep the arms up into our beautiful, strong Warrior One. I'm still futzing with my feet here to really tighten it up. And I'm clinging to the floor with my feet, sending all of that active energy up. Good. So let's slowly bring the arms down as we straighten that front leg. Bring the back foot out on an angle. And then sink back down into that front knee. Notice what happens. You'll feel that shift through the groin, through the hip flexors. And as you come down, you want that sense of external rotation through that front thigh. Extending your arms out. And I'm going to shift my position slightly so you can see this from a different angle. I am still kind of dropping down through the midline, tucking the hips under, lots of energy being pushed down my back leg, externally rotating through that front thigh. My front toes are hanging on. I extend out, and I'm gazing over that middle finger, sinking deeper. Big breaths here. If you want to add one more thing to it, you can start to roll this hip forward slightly, but you don't have to. Beautiful. And let's sweep up, straighten the front leg, straighten the foot, reaching up to the sky, and then swan dive forward. Again, bring your hands a little bit further forward this time. Drop your head, and then you can sink in, softening through the elbows. Think about it this time. The energy's flowing up through your hands and arms, up through your feet and legs. And maybe shooting out, well, probably my butt at this point. So we'll call that the root chakra. You're welcome. You're welcome, Monday. And then sweeping all the way up and bringing the hands to the heart. Sometimes I think I have this beautiful imagery to share, and then I'm realizing that I'm explaining that I'm shooting energy out my butt, which is probably a better way to explain what we're doing. So let's bring the feet together, and we'll never speak of that again until I do it in 5 minutes. Okay. So all of that great warriorship work and forward folding is going to get us into the archer. And I love the archer as a posture, because like warrior, we think of an archer as maybe somebody more violent, right? A hunter. And I don't want you to think of it that way. I want you to think of the poise and the strength and the focus required to shoot a bow and arrow. And I want you to think about how, in order to actually have a good shot, and I used to do biathlon when I was younger, which is cross-country skiing, and we did air rifles, but we also sometimes used bows and arrows. Nothing actually got hurt. And you had to go from this high heart rate, heavy breathing during the cardio of the skiing, and then focus yourself and deepen the breath and go into this very meditative state, being solid, strong to take your shot. And that's what I want you to focus on for the archer. So join me and take a really wide stance. And as soon as you're here, straighten the legs. Tuck your hips under, shoulders are relaxed. Core is tight. We've done just about everything to prepare us beautifully for this posture, except for a lot of work to open the chest. Don't worry about that. I'm going to invite you to take the foot on this side and bring it out. So again, this warrior two stance to begin. Our hips are already familiar with this. And then I want you to sink in to that knee. This also looks like how we were starting our practice today, that beautiful fluid motion. Bring your back shoulder up, back, and down. And then bring the hand up to around the heart. So this is what you're pulling the arrow back with. Your other arm is going to extend forward and rotate so the thumb is up. This is kind of like, well, you can imagine the bow being here, and so you're pulling back to shoot your arrow. So think about the push and pull of life now being translated into this posture. I'm going to sink a little bit more deeply, extending this arm out, pulling back, opening through the chest. And again, all of the energy from heart center is being directed out through your fingertips, and gaze over that thumb. You're still pulling back, lots of strength here. Breathe, pushing and pulling. I'm going to take 3 breaths. And when you release, sweep up, straighten that foot, and bring the energy back down to heart center. Good. Let's do the other side. Bringing that foot out, sinking down into your lunge. Negotiating a little bit more space with that shoulder while tucking the hips under. Standing an arm out, thumb is up, pulling the other arm back. Gaze over that thumb. And lots of energy here. So pushing and pulling between the hands, core is tight, legs are solid. Breathing deeply, 3 breaths in and out. Still and strong. Good, releasing, sweeping up, straightening the legs. Bringing those arms down. So the minute you come out of that lunge, you start to have that relief from the lactic acid that's being released, showing how hard your legs are working. So I'm going to invite you to do that with me once more. The archer is not a posture I would ever want to spend an entire hour on because it's physically hard. And unless you can get into the imagery of it and the heart-centeredness of it, it can feel a little bit like a drag. So we're going to take one more step closer to that. And this time I want you to actually do an intentional expression of love and compassion. I want you to imagine a person, and it can be you or it can be anybody else. But I want you to imagine that person, and as you are kind of directing that energy from your heart center, I want you to feel it flowing up through the ground. All of the goodness that you have within you being filtered, then I want you to feel that love and that energy being expressed out through the heart center, sharing it with that person who you feel needs it. And again, if you're the one who needs it, then imagine you're looking in a mirror, and that's totally fine too. But I want you to really breathe into, you know, again, the esoteric nature of this. This is a position of love and of sharing that energy. So we're going to bring the foot out to the side once again, sinking into our lunge. Shoulder comes back. Arms are ready and steady. And I just did a whole kind of clenching up. How attractive. We're going to hold this 4 breaths this time. Picture that person. See them in front of you. And share that beautiful, pure, non-judgmental, unconditional love. Sweeping up. Grab that energy and bring it back to the heart center. Good. This is like grabbing a little bit of the leftovers and bringing it back to heart center for you. We're going to do the other side. Guess what? You can choose a different person this time. We have enough love to do that. So we're going to bring this foot out to the side, lifting up, sinking down. Bow and arrow ready, heart center ready. Picture that person and express that love. Make it real. Beautiful. Sweeping back up, hands to the heart. Excellent work. So a little bit of a behind the scenes tip for you. One of the reasons why I love to bring in that kind of imagery and that sense of sharing love and shooting love through the heart is that when you're spending all of this time visualizing that person to receive your love, you stop hearing the feedback from your muscles that are saying, I'm tired already. It's a meditation technique. We're choosing to focus on sending love. We're choosing to not focus on this. It allows you to hold the posture a little bit longer, even though we're already tired. That's how meditation works. That's how brain training works. So with that, we deserve a little bit of a reward for that hard work. I have a bolster with me today. If you have an extra yoga mat or a towel or a blanket, start to roll it up. And we're going to come down to the mat. And we've done this a lot recently. I'm hearing from a number of students there's a lot of tightness through the chest. It's hard to do cactus arms. If that's the case, it's tight pectorals, right? Because we're doing a lot of this. So we're going to intentionally open, and it just takes time to stretch and release. So the bolster or the mat or your towel is at your tail. You're going to start to lean back. Knees are bent, legs are hip width apart. Keep the core fairly tight. And depending on what's happening in the shoulders and through the chest, arms can rest at your sides. If you want to bring them up into cactus arms or fingertips over the head, you can do that too. We're going to hold this for a little bit of time. And I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to be breathing in through your heart center, recharging and refueling after beautifully expressing all the love that you expressed earlier. And just like with any of our yin practices or restorative practices, if you need to shift, if you find your edge and you feel you're pushing to the limit, back it up a bit, release. Give yourself a little bit of space. This is your time to recharge. Pardon me. So to release the posture, you're going to bring a hand to the cheek or the ear, and you're going to start to roll onto your side. And if it's fairly easy to move the block or the bolster, you can just bring it up, place it between the thighs and the feet. And just take a little bit more time to rest in this posture. Now, if the chest and the pectorals are tight, This is a great practice that you can do on a regular basis. I'd say hold it for about 5 minutes. Just remember recovery time when you come out of it, which is not for the chest. The recovery time is in case there's been any discomfort caused to the low back. Good. So from here, I'm going to invite you to move back onto your back. Return to your back would be a more eloquent way to say that. I'm going to move the bolster. And we want to do just a little bit of a stretch. So I'm going to bring my left knee in, stretching out my right leg. Shoulders come back. I'm going to do a little bit of a twist across the midline. So I'm bringing my opposite hand to the knee. My other arm is out to the side for support. And I'm just pulling across the midline. My shoulders are both going to stay on the mat. That isolates the stretch through the hip. Really deepen the breath. Come back to center, switching to the other side and crossing that midline. Good. Back to center. Little quick lift up. Cross the legs, bend at the knees, pulling in. Little bit of a wiggle. Untangle. Other side. Cross, bend, grab and wiggle. Pulling back in. We're going to spend just a moment or two in Shavasana. You can set up in the posture we started with this morning if you like, or you can just take a traditional pose, which is stretched out, however you like. Just get comfortable, close your eyes, and surrender to the floor. And as you rest and as you breathe, continue to just let that beautiful, loving, healing, nurturing energy be absorbed into your entire body. And keep that. Keep it within yourself to restore and support you for the rest of the day and beyond. Start to deepen your breath. And slowly start moving your head from side to side. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. And pull the arms up over top of your head for a huge, big stretch. And then gently release and melt. Pull your knees into your tummy. And then you can start to make your way up to a seated posture. And just continue to breathe. So just notice how you feel and be proud of working really hard today. That was a physically challenging practice and everybody did great. Thank you. I hope your Monday is amazing. Namaste.